Welcome to Kenny's Junk. Today we're getting our hands dirty. I'm going to be replacing my alternator belt because I looked down in my engine bay after my battery wasn't charging and saw this dangling. Whether you need to replace your alternator belt or either of the two other belts in the front of your 22RE, you clicked on the right video. I'm going to be going in depth on how to remove and replace each and every one of those belts. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope it's helpful, and let's get into it. First thing you're going to want to do is remove this clamp on the negative battery terminal, just for general safety purposes. Easy enough. Next thing you're going to do is remove this piece of black tubing here that's part of your whole air filtration system. It's going to make it a hell of a lot easier to reach down to where the belts are located and work down there. This little clamp right here is not wanting to come loose, so I'm just going to remove kind of this back half as well. Doesn't make a huge difference whether you do or not. Here's that piece. Put it to the side, don't lose it. You can also go ahead and remove the smaller piece of black tubing that's located just in front of that larger piece. Same process, clamps, just pull it out. Don't lose this one either. Alright, so now you've removed your black tubing, your engine bay should be looking something like this. Our next step is to loosen tension on this belt right here. And the two steps to do that are going to be loosening this bolt on the pulley and then loosening this bolt, which controls where the pulley sits. Doing those two things will in turn loosen the tension on the belt. You'll be able to take it off, and then after taking it off we'll be able to move on to the next belt that we're going to remove. Keep in mind that you're not removing either of these bolts, you're just loosening them enough to allow this pulley to move. Alrighty, one down, one to go. Alrighty, to make it a little bit easier on yourself, what you should probably go ahead and do is remove your skid plate if you have one. It's going to be much easier to access this next belt from underneath the truck. And here it is. We're going to be doing the exact same thing we just did, except on this bottom pulley. We're going to be loosening the bolt on the actual pulley and then loosening this bolt to move that pulley out of the way, which will then allow you to remove this belt. Same process of removing this guy. You're going to take it off of all the pulleys, then you can push it over the fan and actually fully remove it. I'm going to do that from the top side. Alright, I was mistaken. You're not actually going to need to pull this second one over the fan. If you just remove it from all the pulleys, it'll fall right off. This is everything you should have taken off so far. Your next step is going to be loosening the alternator, and whether your old belt snapped or it's still on there, you're going to be doing the same steps either way, except if it is on there, you're just going to be taking it off. And to loosen the alternator, which will then bring this pulley inward, allowing you to put the new belt on, you're going to need to loosen this bolt right here, and then you're also going to need to loosen this bolt right here at the bottom of the alternator. That's going to be the alternator's pivot point where it's mounted, and that's bolt is going to allow it to pivot to the left. This top bolt is a 12mm and this bottom one is a 14mm. I've already loosened that top bolt there. Again, you're not removing the bolt, just loosening it. And I'm about to go ahead and loosen this bottom one. As you can see, I just pushed the alternator inward, and now this pulley is giving enough room for the belt to go back on. Alright, so I'm using this diagram here of 22 RE belts just as a reference. Remember, this is the one we're doing here, this green one. So there's that alternator that we just loosened. You're going to want to put the new belt around that alternator, the water pump pulley, which is also attached to the fan, and then finally you're going to want the belt to go around the closest pulley in the center to the block. I'll give you a little bit of a close-up of what's going on here once I have the belt back on, just to make it as clear as possible. And this is the belt I'm using, just your standard Duralast from AutoZone. Alright, if it wasn't very clear what I just did, I pretty much took the belt, put it behind the fan, and then back over the fan. Alrighty, as you can see now, the belt is wrapped around that fan pulley, the innermost crank pulley, and then the alternator pulley. And now you're going to do everything you just did in reverse, starting with retensioning that alternator pulley. And now that I'm up top here, what I'm going to do is with my right hand pull the alternator back towards myself. And then while I'm holding that tension on the alternator, I'm going to retighten this top belt. And now there should be a decent amount of tension, not so much that it's fully taut, but just enough for you to move it a bit with your finger. This next belt that we're going to be putting on is going to be the smaller of the first two that we removed before doing the alternator belt, and it's going to go around the crankshaft pulley and that AC, as well as this pulley here. And this one is going to be in the middle of the three crankshaft pulleys, and I'll give you a closer look on the actual truck. So what I went ahead and did is set this next belt onto the AC pulley from the top side of the truck, and now that I'm under here, I'm going to pull it over to this center crankshaft pulley. Remember, this belt is in the center of all three belts. And then this final pulley here, which is the one that we loosened tension on earlier, it's going to wrap right back around there. And as you could probably guess, we are going to retension this belt just like we did with the last one. You're going to want to tighten this bolt first. It's going to bring the pulley back out, and then tighten the bolt on the physical pulley. Now that you've restored tension to that AC belt, we're going to do the third and final belt, which is the closest to the front of the truck. What we're going to need to do for this one is thread it back around the fan. It can make it easier if you take this piece off. It shouldn't take more than a minute to get it back over that fan, so there's really not much of a need to take this piece off. Alright, now we're restoring tension on this final belt here. So you're going to retighten this bolt until the belt is at tension, and then retighten the bolt on the front of the pulley. Now we're just going to be reinstalling these plastic parts here. After you have restored tension to all the belts, replaced the negative clamp on the battery terminal, and put these hoses, tubes back on, then you're ready to go. Now let's make sure I did everything right and start her up. Alrighty guys, thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, if you enjoy my truck, then feel free to subscribe or check out my other videos, all on the topic of Jess back there. Again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video.